¡Alto ahí! ¡Vamos, compadre! No, ¿por qué? Arriba las manos. Bueno, ¿por qué? ¡Vamos saliendo, mierda! Vamos al tramite. Sáquelo.
¡Saliendo, güey! ¡Apurándose!
No, saliendo ya. ¿Por qué? Bueno, muchachoso, pégale al tiro ahí.
Ya. Sale de ahí. Vamos saliendo, ya, pues. Apúrese. Apúrese. Vamos saliendo. Salga, güey. Apúrese. Vamos a ir de paseo. Tu abuela están allá abajo. Saliendo. Apúrese. Abuelo, ya, pues. Sale. ¿Tienes zapatos? Ya, sale. Mira, ¿te da la muñeca o no? Toma. Ya, mi teniente. Aquí viene.
Vamos.
Vamos bajando. Apurándose.
Vamos.
Apurándose, mierda.
Apure. Allá, arriba. Vamos.
Ya, pues.
Vamos.
I had been living with my grandparents for 1 year, the night they were picked up by the soldiers. The year before, my father and mother had been taken away in the same way. I never saw them again. For me and many others, this is everyday life in Chile, where the generals are in power.
Vamos, niño. Vamos,
rapidito.
Vamos, rapidito.
Vamos, señora. Yo tengo que tener la guagua. Pásenme la guagua.
Mi niña, por favor, la niña, devuélvanme a mi nieta. La niña. Lleven la niña.
Acá, la muralla.
Lleven mi nieta, por favor. No me la lleven, mi nieta.
Allá está la ciudad. Andas de la casa, sola. Quédate ahí.
Several years later, when I was 14 years old, me and my friends decided to make an action that would force the generals to say what had become of our parents. All this took place during the International Year of the Child, and 1 year later, I told what had happened to a man from a television company in Europe. He had managed to find me in a mysteriously roundabout way, but that's how it is in our country nowadays. He held a secret meeting with me in a hotel room in Santiago, in Chile. It was all very confusing, and they were all very afraid that we might have been followed by the military.
¿Cómo llegaste a la ciudad?
I said that I hadn't seen my grandparents since they were picked up by the military. I had been left behind out on the highway, but some kind people found me and had me taken to my cousin. I live with her now.
Hvorefter de fandt frem til hendes fasters adresse, som hun bor hos nu, og der går hun i skole i byen.
Lad os nu komme til selve aktionen. I besatte altså den danske ambassade for et år siden, sådan som det står beskrevet her i avisen.
The man had read about the action in the newspapers at that time. There was probably a lot written about it abroad. Now he wants to know what actually happened. Yes, it started a year ago, when everyone sat around as usual, feeling bored at school. It was as if there was always someone who kept an eye on you, either the president from his picture, or else our teacher.
Silencio.
Quiet, she says. Yes, it did become quiet after the president came to power. I often sit in class and think about what happened to our country. The president smiles, and many parentless children cry. The soldiers march and imprison anyone who speaks against the president. That's why my grandparents were also taken away. They had different views from those who governed Chile. I had found out that people were locked up in camps where they were tortured and killed. When the military took power, one could see the dead lying in the streets and bodies emerged by the river. Recently, 15 were found killed in a chalk mine. They had been there for several years. I can't stop thinking that my parents were amongst them. Gradually, there are more and more of my friends in the class who don't have a father or mother. And then I got a message from Belitza. Come to San Cristobal Church this afternoon, 4 o'clock. Be careful. It was odd. Why couldn't she just tell me? And who was I going to meet? Esther? Marisol? Or Belitza herself? I wondered why we had to meet in a church. Why did everything have to be so secretive? Why couldn't we meet at the cafeteria as we usually did? Then a girl came whom I didn't know. She must have seen me coming because she whispered, "Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you must go to Mangalan Street, number 7, to Petra Barahona. knock on the cellar window 3 times.
Yeah.
¿Estamos todos o falta alguno? Bueno, podría empezar.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Isabel.
Entra.
Luis.
Es la Isabel.
They were all there, Belitza and the others from the class, and a few boys. They were in the middle of planning an action. We were to occupy a church and hunger strike until the government would say what had become of our parents. This way the whole world would know what is happening in Chile today. A lady called Petra Barahona told us that her husband and son had also disappeared. She showed us a photograph of the chalk mine where 15 had been found killed. We must hunger strike until the names of the 15 were made public. Perhaps some of them were from our families.
Sí, yo también creo, porque mi papá y mis hermanos se desaparecieron hace 3 años atrás.
One by one, we told how we had lost our parents.
Y no es peligroso para nosotros que somos niños, por ejemplo, mis padres, mis abuelos están muertos.
I couldn't help asking if it wasn't dangerous to rebel against the military.
Yo creo que no debe preocuparse mucho por eso.
But the adults reassured us. They said that's why it was so important that it was children who took action. In the International Year of the Child, the military would not dare to harm children. Belitza quickly became a kind of leader and suggested that we occupy a church. The next day at 11 o'clock, we had to run away from school. Petra Barahona would write a letter to the foreign newspapers. Everything had to be completed by 12 o'clock.
Bueno, ahora vamos haciendo de todo.